Have you ever waited so long for something that hope started to feel foolish? Not days. Not months. But years. Decades. That was Sarah's life. And her story is for anyone who has ever wondered if God forgot. A woman with a promise but no proof. Her name was Sarai at first. Wife of Abram. Living in Ur. Comfortable, settled. Then God speaks to her husband, leave everything and go. And Sarai goes too. No recorded speech from her. No dramatic protest. Just quiet obedience. But there is a silent ache she carries with her. She cannot have children. In that culture, barrenness was not just private pain. It was public shame. It meant uncertainty. It meant questions without answers. Yet God promises Abram descendants as numerous as the stars. And Sarai hears that promise too. Imagine the tension. A promise of countless offspring and an empty womb. The long wait. Years pass. The stars are still there. The promise is still spoken. But nothing changes. Sarai grows older. Her body tells her what logic already has: this is impossible. So she does what many of us do when waiting becomes unbearable. She tries to help God. She gives her servant Hagar to Abram so they can have a child through her. Ishmael is born. But instead of peace, there is jealousy, tension, and division. Human solutions complicate divine promises. Sarai's impatience does not cancel God's plan. But it does bring pain. And maybe that makes her more relatable than we expect. She is not a perfect heroine. She is a woman wrestling with disappointment. The laugh. Then one day, when she is nearly 90 years old, the Lord visits Abraham again. This time, the promise becomes specific. Sarah, your wife, will have a son. And Sarah laughs. Not joyful laughter. Not yet. It is the laugh of disbelief. The kind that says, be serious. She laughs quietly, inside the tent. After I am worn out and my Lord is old, will I now have this pleasure? The Lord responds with a question that echoes through history. Is anything too hard for the Lord? That question reframes everything. Her age. Her barrenness. Her past mistakes. Nothing is too hard for God. A new name, a new identity. God changes her name from Sarai to Sarah, meaning princess. The name shift is not cosmetic. It is prophetic. She is not defined by her barrenness. She is defined by promise. And then it happens. At 90 years old, Sarah gives birth to Isaac. The child of promise. The impossible becomes flesh and blood. This time, Sarah laughs again. But now it is joy. God has brought me laughter, she says, and everyone who hears about this will laugh with me. Isaac's name means laughter. The sound that once carried doubt now carries fulfillment. What Sarah represents. Sarah's story is not about flawless faith. It is about a faith that survives long silence. She waited through decades of unanswered prayers. She stumbled. She doubted. She tried to control the outcome. Yet God remained faithful. Her story proves something profound. The promise did not depend on her youth. It did not depend on her strategy. It did not depend on perfect belief. It depended on God's power. When her strength was gone, when biology said no, when logic said impossible, God said now. Sarah becomes living proof that divine timing does not bow to human limitation. The emotional core. Imagine holding Isaac for the first time. After years of tears. After public shame. After private doubt. That child was not just a son. He was evidence. Evidence that waiting is not wasted. Evidence that God sees hidden pain. Evidence that what seems delayed is not denied. Sarah's tent, once marked by silence, fills with laughter. Closing reflection. Sarah's life asks us a question. What promise have you quietly stopped believing? What dream have you laughed off because it feels too far gone? Sarah laughed at the promise. But God had the final word. Her story reminds us that hope does not expire with age. That God's faithfulness is not limited by biology, timing, or human ability. When everything in her body said impossible, God said possible. When she thought her story was defined by what she lacked, God defined it by what He would give. And maybe that is the takeaway. If nothing is too hard for the Lord, then your delay is not the end of your story. Sarah waited. And in the end, she laughed. Not because life was easy, but because God was faithful.